Welcome to the MLB Network Podcast presented by Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. For the first time ever, WWE's SummerSlam is a two-night event, August 2nd and 3rd at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. In fact, not too far from the MLB Network studios in Secaucus, New Jersey. And we're pleased to be joined by former world heavyweight champion, WWE superstar, and big-time baseball fan, Damian Priest. Damian, how are you?
Great, man. Thanks for having me.
You got it. A lot to get to, but first I want to start with this. Where did your love of baseball come from?
Well, when I moved with my dad in the Bronx in early 90s, he took me to my first Yankee game. And it was as simple as Don Mattingly hitting a home run and the Yankees winning 1-0 and seeing that electricity in the crowd and everybody going crazy. And I loved everything, the peanuts, the hot dogs, the atmosphere. And I was hooked from the get.
And this was at old Yankee Stadium, which I never went to, but I understand it's a little bit different than the version of Yankee Stadium we have now. Yes?
Yeah, I mean, at its core, it's, the cathedral look. So it's the same, but inside, like in the walkways and whatnot, that's where it's way upgraded. And the seats are a little bit more comfortable, I'll say that.
Who were your favorite Yankees growing up? You mentioned Don Mattingly. Who else?
Easy answer is always going to be Jeter. How could you not? He was the guy. But Bernie Williams was a big one for me. Just, obviously being a fellow Puerto Rican. I remember meeting Ruben Sierra when I was a kid, and that was cool. And when watching him smash home runs, and obviously Paul O'Neill, the core four, those guys, because that's who I grew up with. But yeah, I would say all of those guys basically they were huge impacts for me.
I've heard you talk about Jeter a couple of times, and you're certainly not alone. I'm sure there are still that hold him in high regard. But what was it about him that appealed to you so much as a young fan growing up?
His grit, just the way he played, the wanting to be a champion, wanting to win no matter what. That always came first. It was the team winning, not personal accolades, and he didn't really care about the feuds and this and that. He wanted to go out there and just do what he could to help his team win. And, when you grow up and you want an inspiration, it's like, yeah, just something positive for me and mine. And that was his mentality. And he was a warrior with that. So how could you not respect that aspect of the game? He didn't need to be the best player every single day. He just needed to be the leader to make sure everybody played their best.
Derek Jeter, of course, ended his career wearing Yankee pinstripes. More than likely, Juan Soto will not end his career in the same manner. What did you think of when he left to the Crosstown Mets?
Obviously it was disappointing. I wanted, as a fan, I wanted him to stay a Yankee, but when you hear the dollar amount, and it's like, ooh, maybe thanks guys, the Mets did us a favor, not because, anything against Soto, but it's now we can purchase other things that's needed. And I think that they build a all-around team instead of just focusing on one player.
Yeah. Let's talk about your wrestling career for just a second. First of all, there's amazing documentary on the WWE Network about you, your career, your family. You've experienced the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. You were homeless at one time as you were trying to cement your wrestling career. You lived out of your car. You had your gear stolen out of your car. That paused your wrestling career for a while. But one thing that struck me was during that time in the documentary, you talk about you didn't really reach out to family or friends for help. How come?
Man, since I was at a young age, I just developed this independent, do what you can and do it for yourself. Oh, nobody, nothing mentality. I don't know where I got it from, to be honest. But that started at a young age. I left home when I was a teen and never looked back. I always wanted to accomplish anything or fail on my own. And when I was down and out, and of course I could have, but maybe it was a pride thing. I don't know, but I just chose to, weather the storm and just keep trying to figure it out. And because I never believed that that's where I belonged on the street anyway. It was just one of those things where it's like, how do I get out of this? What is it that I'm missing? What am I not doing? And ultimately it was just, and I say it on the doc that's on Peacock. It's ultimately I said, I am my own worst enemy. I looked at myself in the mirror. It's like, I am not being honest with myself. I'm lying to everybody else saying I'm trying my hardest. and I'm doing everything I can, but I was out of shape. I barely wrestling. I wasn't really doing what I was supposed to be doing to achieve my own dream. And once I flipped that switch and was kind of honest with myself, that's when things started happening in a positive light for me.
Yeah, you go on to tell that there's this one specific moment that really is a life-changing moment, a life-changing instance where you're working at a club, you're managing, you're working security. They tell you, hey, we're going to move you up. We're going to give you a little bit of a raise. We're going to, put you on this track. But, oh, by the way, you got to stop this wrestling thing that you do on the weekends. And you immediately told your boss at the time, this is my 2-week notice. At what moment, when you look back on that, what do you think that like impetus was to tell your boss? And you really had nothing going at the time professionally. You mentioned you were out of shape. What do you think it was at that moment you decided, you know what? No, I'm going to continue to try to be a wrestler?
I don't know. I think maybe that's, and I've said this, he could have said that a different day and my answer probably would have been different. But for whatever reason, that day, I was just, I don't know, maybe I was reflecting a lot on wrestling and I was just thinking about it and how much I love it. And when he said that, and I was like, how dare you take away what I love? Looking back, it worked out so great, but at the time, reckless, but yeah, I'm obviously grateful that it worked out in the right way. But man, that was, I remember walking out of that office and I was sweating because I was like, oh no, what did I just do? I'm back on the street. And basically that's what happened. Luckily, my mom was moving. And so while she was packing up moving, it was one of those things that she knew that I put in my 2 weeks notice. She was like, hey, why don't you stay here and just sleep in the living room and help us, box and move stuff. And this way, like I'm there to help almost. And I was like, all right, I'll do that. And that was like one of those that I accepted the help only because I was helping them at the same time. And then, but yeah, immediately, started working different jobs and bartending again. And then joined the gym. And then, everything kept on moving forward from there.
Yeah, it certainly worked out. I mean, you were recently voted into or asked to be a member or honored with a spot on the Bronx Walk of Fame as someone that is that grew up there, spent so much time in the Bronx. To be part of that group of the Walk of Fame, what does that mean to you?
Man, that was it was an emotional day, and I was grateful. And, I think I mentioned that I was like, there's one of those things that you don't really know how much to say or what are the proper words to say in that situation, other than I'm honored, thank you. I appreciate everything. I mean, I didn't know what else to say because I was just engulfed in all these emotions of how did I get here? This is incredible. I remember when they asked me, and it was my dad, because somebody that he knew from the office, the president's office, and the 5-borough president reached out, and they asked him to get in touch with me to see if I'd be honored. And when he told me this, and because it's my dad, I was like, Pop, are you sure it's for the Bronx Walk of Fame? It's not like the sanitation department or something. And he goes, no, it's a real thing. I said, this can't be real. I didn't think it was real. That's why I had made that joke to him, because I was like, there's no way, so humbled and it was an amazing day, by the way. And the other honorees were great and deserving as well. But man, that's something that's like, and I've always said it when my wrestling, with one of my phrases is live forever. And the idea was not like a vampire, it's your name. You want it to be remembered. And that's one of those, you can't take that one away. I mean, if you walk by it, you're gonna see it. It's up on the street. So that was a good day.
Yeah, it's not on a garbage truck or anything. It's actual the Walk of Fame.
Yeah, we got it. It's on the Grand Concourse. Actually, you can see Yankee Stadium from the corner, which is kind of cool.
That's perfect. That's a perfect location. We're going to be back with more with Damian Priest on the MLB Network Podcast.
The MLB Network Podcast is presented by Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Welcome back to the MLB Network Podcast. We're talking with WWE Superstar Damian Priest. You had a chance to go to Yankee Stadium last year, and you met Aaron Judge, I believe, for the first time. What were your impressions of him physically?
Wow. I work with big guys, you know what I mean?
Yes, you do.
I'm not small myself, but I looked at him and I was like, okay, you look like you belong in our locker room, for one. Big guy and solid. Like, you could tell he's a lot of muscle there. So, it makes sense why he hits the ball so far.
Did you meet Giancarlo Stanton too?
It was like a quick wave. He was busy, and that was the one that I did want to meet. Big fan of Big G. So hopefully that opportunity still comes one of these days in one of the games that I make out this year. But I got to meet most of the team. Swisher was really awesome because he's a big fan, and man, he was going crazy. And Boone came up to me. He was one of the first people that came up to me. Soto was actually the first guy that came up to me, and I was wearing a Soto jersey. He's changed.
Well, you can't wear that anymore.
Yeah. Well, who has the number now? Somebody else has it. So
yeah, that's true.
Right.
That's true. You talked earlier about briefly about your struggle and the grind. I'm wondering, sitting where you sit now as the pinnacle of your profession, I'm wondering if you can see the similarities that your business has with baseball players and the grind that they have to go through. They too have to go through the minor leagues, through the indies, through the NXT, if you will. I'm wondering if you can appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. And this goes for most athletes anyway, but specifically baseball. I know because the guys, they're not making any money. They're spending money to achieve their dream because they're taking money out of pocket to pay for gas, their equipment, to show up to the games for no money, no glory. Sometimes it's just a few family members and a few friends that show up to the games. Even like around here locally in Florida, I'll at times go to like the local baseball games, where you have just Florida teams and, nobody's famous or anything. They're just, not in college anymore or whatever. So they're still trying to play ball and trying to make it to the big leagues. So I'll check out the games every now and then and support. But it's a grind. And those guys, it's same as us, putting your body on the line because you see how injuries are so often in baseball. Well, They have a lot of training, trainers and medical staff that take care of them. Outside of there, they don't. So these guys are really out of pocket, spending this and just hustling for their own dream. And just like in our business, you got to respect that because it's one of those things that nobody else is going to work for your own dream. And I respect the work that the guys put into for the idea of achieving that.
Oftentimes, young baseball players, they will seek the guidance of veteran players. Maybe that veteran player takes them under their wing. And you kind of did the same in your business. You've talked extensively about the impact of guys like The Undertaker, Scott Hall, X-Pac. What has been the most important thing that men like that and other mentors in the wrestling business have shared with you? What's been the most impactful pearls of wisdom?
Triple H is also another one of those, and who's also my boss. Mm-hmm. His main thing when I first signed with WWE, and he saw the way I was and the way I treated everybody and the way they treated me and how people responded, and his thing was always wrestling's great and all. A lot of guys could do a lot of cool moves and they could do poses and they could talk really well. It's everything else. It's the human being that you are and the leadership that you can command. And he goes, and that's what you want to do here. He goes, because the respect from your peers, you have the respect from the peers, you have respect from everybody. And that was like one of the bigger ones of focusing on, like we were talking about Jeter before, where it's not just about you sometimes. It's about the business, the team, and all of us united to make the business better and bigger for the next generation. So if I can.
And how do you I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that was basically it. It's just one of those things that I never thought about that side. I was always thinking about just the wrestling. He was like, no, it's being a leader. It starts in the back all the way to the ring, not just in the ring. And finding that place that even when you're out there, to be genuine, you can portray a character, but it usually so often it comes off fake, unless you're really into the character. Undertaker was able to do that character because it was kind of him. He was a dark guy that was into that vibe, so it worked. It made sense. But when you try to pretend to be something you're not, whether it's backstage or in front of the crowd, it's not going to work. And he was like, when you figure out how to be you at all times, you're going to make a lot of money in this business.
One of your closest friends in the business is Rhea Ripley. Together, collectively, you were known as the Terror Twins. That's one of my favorite recent gimmicks and angles in the biz. I mean, I love you two guys together. What impact has she had on your career?
The same thing. That it's just that positivity and the work ethic, and you see that, you respect it, and then it's like, how could I not try to be the same? And her kindness to not just us, it was like to the fans. And she is one of the kindest people that any fan will ever meet. It's really cool to see and witness, and it kind of brings a smile to my face. And I'm like, maybe I'll try to be a little nicer. But yeah, she is a sweetheart. And the Terror Twins, another thing that name or gimmick, like as you said, that came from the fans. So it was real. Like the fans started calling us that because they would take screenshots of us, and then it was not planned. We would just keep doing the same thing, making the same facial expressions and acting similar. And it was by accident. It was just because we were around each other so much, you kind of pick up on habits. And we didn't even realize it. And then fans started calling us that, and WWE liked it, and they ran with it. They went all in on the Terror Twins, and we loved it. So it was cool because that was for the fan.
Well, hopefully we see it sometime in the not too distant future. We'll be back to wrap things up with WWE Superstar Damian Priest on the MLB Network Podcast.
The farmer's dog thinks about your dog every day because their goal is to help them live a long, healthy life. Their food is developed by a team of board-certified vet nutritionists. Unlike most pet foods, the farmer's dog is made to human-grade standards. It's gently cooked without the ultra-processing and portioned for easy weight management. Because sure, good ingredients matter, but the best recipes call for so much more. Get 50% off your first box of the official pet food of Major League Baseball at thefarmersdog.com/MLB. That's thefarmersdog.com/MLB.
Rapid fire questions time with WWE Superstar Damian Priest on the MLB Network Podcast. All right, Damian, rapid fire. Here we go. Will Aaron Judge break his record of homers in a single season at 62? Will he break it?
Yes.
All right. Who was a Yankee that you enjoyed growing up in your formative years that might surprise people?
A-Rod was a big one for me. I was a big A-Rod guy. So, and I know because I don't normally talk a lot about him, but yeah, A-Rod was one of my all-time favorite players. And then I would say when I was younger than that, being a big Yankee fan, which is this one I definitely don't like to mention a lot, Ken Griffey Jr.
There you go. Hey, he spans all fan bases. That's for sure. Favorite,
the Michael Jordan of baseball.
Favorite match you've been in?
Me versus Bad Bunny.
Yeah, that is so good. When he does that Canadian Destroyer, I mean, it's amazing.
The Bunny Destroyer.
The Bunny Destroyer. Dream opponent.
Dream opponent. Well, all time is Undertaker. That's always the easy answer. He was the guy that I fell in love with the business because of his character. So it would be cool to have, one of that dynamic. But obviously he's retired now. So
yeah. If you weren't a pro wrestler, what would you be doing?
Baseball. I'd like to think I would.
Yeah. I think you won a championship with the Boys and Girls Club there in the Bronx, right? Back in the day?
Yes, I did. Kips Bay.
There you go. All right. What position did you play?
I was right field.
All right. Who is on your all-time baseball Mount Rushmore? That's an easy podcast question, so I'll give you that one.
Yeah. And that's such a hard question because of every player in the history of baseball, but
I know.
I'll stick with players that I've watched. I'll do one with those to make it a little bit easier.
Your personal Mount Rushmore, certainly good.
Jeter's got to be in there just because of what he meant to the team. I don't think Jeter's on that team is not because he was the best player, but I don't think the Yankees win all those World Series without him.
You're right.
Griffey's on there. Yeah, Griffey has to be on there. Say what you will, Bonds has got to be on there. At least I'm on it.
I agree.
It was incredible what you witnessed, And then now, I mean, I'm going to pick Judge. I think it's still early. So to think about the numbers he would have accomplished by the end of his career is going to be insane.
Yeah, he's certainly on the Hall of Fame highway. And then who is and I think you already mentioned it, but is your favorite non-Yankee baseball player Ken Griffey Jr.? Is that your guy, non-Yankee?
Yeah, easy answer. I mean, that guy, the coolest swing, the coolest guy. And even the outfield, he was so smooth. I mean, he made it I love the baseball. I wanted to play baseball. I would even pretend do his swing. I ended up becoming a switch hitter because I wanted to swing the bat lefty like he did. So I ended up practicing enough that I was actually pretty decent at batting lefty.
Well, maybe you can incorporate a baseball bat into your ring entrance, make that part of your thing, a la Sting, or, who knows?
One day, you never know.
You never know. A reminder, the first ever 2-night SummerSlam, August 2nd and 3rd, just right down the road from MLB Network Studios at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com. It's going to be the can't-miss event of the summer in the tri-state area. Damian, it's always great to catch up with you, man. Love the conversation, and best of luck to you moving forward.
Always a blast. Thanks for having me, man.
You got it.